We're going to start here on the show Get Up on ESPN. Jeff Van Gundy is going to give his take on Kevin Durant posse returning for the rest of the season. 22 teams are invited to Orlando, Florida to take on the last 8 games of the regular season plus the playoffs. Uh, on my state of things when it comes to KD, he should not return at all. You know, whenever it comes to the Brooklyn Nets, they're around 30 and 34. They've underperformed this year. Even without Kevin Durant, we still expect them to be a little over 500. Kyrie Irving has been hobbled. He's been hurt twice this year. Kyrie Irving has actually officially stated that he's not going to return to the NBA, the regular season. He's had an injury and he's going to take a couple months off. I mean, I agree with Kyrie Irving because to the point of you're 30 and 34, if you're going to get pretty much swept in the first round to the Raptors or Bucks, it doesn't make any sense really. And people are going to have that narrative on Kyrie to where he's not a winner, he can't lead a team. Kevin Durant, he was out for the finals and the playoffs. Now for the rest of the season, makes no sense for him to rush back just like last season and jump back in and then, to get swept or to lose in the first round. It's best for him to have the momentum and have rest for next season, mentally and physically. And this is something the Brooklyn Nets can feed off of that Kevin Durant didn't play last season, but now he'll be playing in the 2021 season. They can push for a playoff run. But let's see what Jeff Van Gundy, the crew, talk about here.
The league's 22-team restart proposal by a vote of 29-1. The season is now tentatively scheduled to resume July 31st at Disney's Wide World of Sports in Orlando. The Blazers were the only team to vote against the proposal. And so with the season approved to restart, take a look at some key dates here. Games are scheduled to begin on July 31st. The last possible date of the season would be October 12th. That would be Game 7 of the NBA Finals. That's a Monday. The draft and...
All right, so looking at these key dates, before this actually came out, I was actually expecting it would be similar to 2012, the regular season, to where there was a lockout season, and then the 2012 season actually did start December 25th on Christmas, whenever we had the Miami Heat go against the Dallas Mavericks. I was expecting the same scenario with this coronavirus period for the next season to start up. So I'm liking how Adam Silver and the crew finally got the NBA dates intact. We see over here at the very end of July, it's going to occur with the regular season. And then after that, we're going to have the playoffs occur, in around the August area. Latest we see the finals will be in the fall section. And then we can see free agency starts October 18th. And then as well as December 1st would be probably around the season starts. These guys already have had 3 months of rest and kind of a vacation period. Not really a vacation period because you've had the corona, but this is something to the NBA. Can give them around a month and a half of that vacation time period and then get everything start rolling for the next season. So I agree with the timeline as of right now. Well done put by Adam Silver.
With the hope that next season could begin on December 1st. And interestingly, we were talking with Adrian Wojnarowski a little bit earlier, and he was telling us that Michelle Roberts, who is the executive director of the NBA Players Association, was expressing concern about what would appear to be a very short turnaround between the end of this season. Again, the teams that make the finals could be playing into October, and then a training camp that were to begin in November and a season that could begin as early as December 1st. So that's something that will have to be ironed out. There has been a consideration of shifting the start of the NBA season from where it currently is in late October into December to try and avoid competing with football and playing perhaps into the summer. That's something many people have talked about for a long time. Jalen Rose has talked about it on this show and other places for a long time. Mark Cuban has suggested, the owner of the Dallas Mavericks, that it's something that he would be in favor of. So we'll see if these circumstances necessitate that sort of thing taking place and if they're able to turn it around as quickly as possible. I am waiting for Jeff Van Gundy, who I'm told will join us live momentarily here with a variety of different things to get into with him about the possibilities of the NBA returning, which teams we think will be at the very top. And guys,
fair, and I think we were choosing among multiple bad alternatives given the pandemic we're dealing with. And I think that many of the teams that weren't able to resume play, those 8 teams that are not included, thought it was unfair. And I think there were also some of the teams that are already, in essence, had mathematically made the playoffs, that it's unfair to give some of these 6 teams an opportunity to play in. And I think ultimately, to the extent the team has a healthy roster and those players are able to come back, they are eligible to play.
So again, take another look at these numbers out of Las Vegas with Caesars. It's just as simple as that. When the season ended, the Nets were 750 to 1 to win the championship.
I saw the stat the other day. It's funny how they changed it to 60 to 1. Kevin Durant possibly returning. He's not going to return. Kevin Durant has said this in the past, even before coronavirus. Now, even with 3 months extra of healthy rest, he's still not going to return to the Brooklyn Nets. It doesn't make any sense. The season's a wash for this team. They're going to make the playoffs. They're going to lose to either the Bucks or as well as the Raptors in 4 games. Kyrie Irving's not going to return either. They're going to get healthy, prepare for next season. The team does not mash up at all. They already fired Kenny Atkinson as the coach. We already heard and stated from Kyrie Irving he wants to let go of the younger cats on the team. They're trying to rebuild. Expect a lot of moves to be made during this free agency period. Trade away a lot of the young cats. Bring in veterans on the team. Bring in a new coach like a Tyronn Lue, maybe a Tom Thibodeau. Who knows? But this team's going to be way different. They're not going to, put a lot of risk going and jump into the playoffs with Kevin Durant and Kyrie. No way, no how.
60 to 1, so suddenly the world believes there's a chance that those guys are coming back to play. Let us bring in our NBA analyst extraordinaire. The great Jeff Van Gundy is back with us for the first time in too long. Great to talk to you, Jeff. And let's start right there. If you're coaching the Nets, do you want Kevin Durant? Let's just use Durant for the example here for the moment. When you consider the history there, when he got hurt in the finals, perhaps coming back too soon, would you want him to play?
Yeah, if he's healthy. Yeah, that's not even a hard question. I think, again, it all starts with the level of health.
Well, listen, I know where Jeff Van Gundy is going to be going, but even if Kevin Durant was healthy during this time period, no, I don't want him to play. This season's been a wash. Even if KD was healthy, you're going to lose in around 6 games in the first round matchup to either the Raptors or as well as to Milwaukee. It's not good for momentum-wise for the following season. This is something to where everyone's holding on to Kevin Durant very tightly as hope. And as the Brooklyn Nets, they've had a wash season. They can now prepare for next season of hope because they're going to restructure their coachings. They're going to restructure the role players, some of the other starters on the team, as well as now they have Kevin Durant, a quote-unquote savior. Same thing with KD when he was out for the finals. He was a savior until he got hurt. Same thing will approach for the 2021 season. That's what the Brooklyn Nets are all aiming for.
And
same thing with Kevin Durant.
Injury, what you can expect is him to come back and be Kevin Durant immediately. But if healthy and the doctors clear him and he feels good about his chance to be successful and play well, certainly. And I don't think it's even a downside if healthy for the next season. I think it breaks through some mental barriers and gets him a better start going into next year as well.
You could manage it, of course, any way you want to when he comes back. They're going to play 8 games in 16 days. There will be back-to-backs, at least once, I'm told, for every team in there. You wouldn't have to play him in that if you didn't want to. I guess then the question I would ask you is, if Kevin Durant comes back and is the Kevin Durant that we have been accustomed to, what are the Nets capable of in an Eastern Conference playoff scenario?
Well, listen, they're already at a downfall. The Nets are, again, I'm going to say this over and over, they're already at a 7th or 8th seed. If Kevin Durant did come back for the last 8 games, they could probably push for a 6th seed. I doubt a 5th. Even if they were playing the Celtics, the Bucks or Raptors, even with KD, we've already heard from Kyrie Irving stating that he's not returning. I doubt if KD ever were to come back, Kyrie were to as well. It doesn't make any sense. Kyrie's he's injury-prone player for the past couple of years. He plays things safe. He knows they're going to lose in the first round. Even if they somehow do make it out of the first round, they're not coming out of the second round. They're not coming out of the Eastern Conference. They're focusing for 2021, which is a smart thing for them to do. As a general manager as well as an owner, I will have Kevin Durant sit, rest for 5 to 6 more months, start playing pickup basketball, have the motivation himself. It doesn't make any sense to bring him back. Now, if you're on ESPN, you're ABC, TNT for ratings and views and media, of course, yeah. Fans, of course. But whenever it comes to your team with your star players, it doesn't make sense physically, mentally, as well as storyline.
Well, if Kevin Durant is back and he's the old Kevin Durant, I mean, they can beat anybody. I mean, he's that good. He's that big a difference maker. We all know that. We've seen it. We've seen his ability to absolutely dominate games. But I think that would be a stretch. Having not played for over a year, to then expect him to come right back in 8 games in a non-fan environment and immediately click with his new team, I think that's a stretch. But
You know, it's kind of funny. Whenever I look at Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant, even though they're NBA champions, they're still looking for something to prove for themselves. Even though Kyrie Irving was a huge part winning the 2016 Finals with LeBron James, Kyrie Irving wants to be either a 1A, 1B. With him joining KD, he's going to be the 1B. Kevin Durant's going to be the 1A. KD still has a lot to prove to win on his own franchise instead of bandwagoning on the Golden State Warriors and on their kingdom. Again, these guys are NBA champions, but they both still have something to prove. If Kyrie Irving were to never win another championship on another team or in his career, still he'll be a Hall of Famer. He's a champion. Congrats to him. But him joining the Nets, and we've seen these scenarios with the Celtics being one of the leaders and main guys on the team, being in his prime, this would be a lot. This would be a help for a boost on his legacy to win a championship with Brooklyn as a 1B to Kevin Durant's 1A. Now with KD, if he never wins another championship in his career, that's going to be a detriment to him. Really questioning if he could ever be a number 1 option to lead a team to a chip. We've already seen with Golden State that wasn't the option. Steph Curry and Klay Thompson, they already had their own foundation. They were already successful and champions before him, and they didn't need him for 2017 or 18. With KD, you know, we saw he made a bunch of burner accounts. He was very offended. He left the city of Oakland, and now he decided to go with Brooklyn because he knows he has something to prove. Kind of like LeBron James in Miami. Not really, because LeBron led the crew to those chips. KD, he was just a cherry on top. He wasn't the whole core foundation, but I'm very excited to see how Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant do perform next season. I believe they're easily going to be a top 2 team in the Eastern Conference. They will definitely be in the Eastern Conference Finals, possibly in the Finals.
Would it make them
but these two still have a lot to prove.
In a playoff scenario, if he got 6 or 7 of those games in? Absolutely. They have a good team to begin with. And with Durant, they have a chance to be a great team.
Now, let me just throw it over to the Western Conference side of that, because Portland, I think, was actually the genesis of the question last night. I wasn't watching the interview when it happened, but Portland is a team that was ravaged by injury this year that could be getting back Nurkic and could be getting back Collins. And if they can find a way to get into the playoffs, they are currently outside of the 8 teams in the West. But if they found a way to get in, that's a team that made a deep run last year. How dangerous is Portland if they're all healthy?
Well, again,
Oh, very dangerous to get swept by the Lakers. Listen, same thing with the Portland Trailblazers. They're around 3.5 games from the 8th seed. They're not. Damian Lillard's really mentally checked out. He doesn't want to play this season. Even with Nurkic and those cats, they're going to stay. They're not going to come back. They're going to continue the rehab, get better, healthier. The media likes to push these narratives and like to push these players into playing, even though they say the opposite whenever an injury does occur back to them. It does not make sense with the Portland Trailblazers or the Nets or any of these other teams. You know, I expect how the playoff seedings to kind of stick around as they are, both in the East and West. The Pelicans may knock over the Grizzlies, who knows? But everyone mentally already knows how the seedings are going to be. So with the Nets, focus on them for next season. They're going to have a great season. I really do expect with Kevin Durant coming back. Hopefully Kyrie Irving can stay healthy as well. The Blazers, they're going to have to rebuild or retool. Who knows on that side? But it's good hearing about Jeff Van Gundy and his take. Again, Kevin Durant should sit out the season.